It's no driving gloves, everybody, and it's going to be a new, hopefully, format a little bit. And we're going to be joined by Will, and then we should have, oops, I almost pushed the wrong person. We got Derek, and our guest tonight is going to be Greg Stanley of RM Sotheby's and the Car Collector podcast. Boy, that's a kind of a thing I wish we weren't live for, but here we go. No driving gloves. We're a combination of gearheads. John the Instigator, Derek the Conservative, Will the Builder, Sean the Racer, and maybe a guest. Invite you to listen while they sit down, have a drink, and discuss cars. Subscribe to the podcast with No Driving Gloves. Time now for the ride. And we're here. Everybody's in the room, right?
Yeah, fancy. Yeah, nice.
I'm in my room.
I'm in my blue room.
Yeah, notice you've got a nice blue tint. It works with the theme for the podcast. Did you do that on purpose, or?
I did not. It's just the cleanest shirt I have. So, but thanks for having me, guys.
Glad you're here.
Yeah.
So the good old RM game, I have memories of RM. I can't remember when did RM merge with Sotheby's. I can't remember.
You're going to ask me some historic stuff I don't have the answer to. I've been with them about 2 years now, so anything prior to 2 years, I'm probably not the best source.
So I can't complain about 21 years ago. I was up there in Ontario, or Chatham. Is it Chatham? Interviewing with RM.
You can complain, yeah. I can't do it, but
everybody tells me my complaining does me no good, so I shouldn't really do it.
And we don't want to go back to 2000. About 2006 or 7 when I bought a car from RM Auctions in Novi.
Novi, wow, okay. Now that's
it was actually, I think it was the last. It was either the last or second to last Novi auction. It was when they sold some of the Chrysler collection cars.
What'd you buy?
I bought the 1917 Overland Model 90 Roadster. That was a kind of a basket case that needed restoration.
Did you know it was a basket case?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. I went and saw it before. I knew the guys at the Ypsilanti office when they had the office there. Yep. And I went over there and looked at it before it even went up for sale.
Yeah, Derek, you got the quirky taste, right? I mean, you got a lot of neat stuff.
I call it stupid stuff.
Stupid stuff. All right.
Yeah, it's stupid.
That's a good
quirky. Quirky's a nice way of putting it.
We should have the stupid category at Concours. That would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, at least 50% of us on this podcast tonight are very eclectic with our collections.
Why are you using big words?
What kind of toys you have in the garage, Greg?
Well, it's funny. I had a 66 Mustang convertible. I'm a big Mustang guy. That's the first car I fell in love with. Not a great car. I realize that, but you can't help. The first car you fall in love with is what it is. And I still love them. I'm a concours driven judge. Love a Shelby, and when I sold the car, I wanted to get the opposite because it's all about the driving experience, right? And so I didn't want to get like a 66 or 67 Camaro. I wanted the exact opposite. So let's do a little interview here or poll question. So what, John, is the exact opposite of a 66 Mustang convertible? And I want to hear each of you tell me what your answer is, and we'll see if one of you gets it right.
Well, I have to disqualify myself because you disclosed that on the podcast that I listened to today.
Okay.
But I do have a question once we know.
John was doing his research.
I'm going Chrysler Newport.
Good choice.
I have one of those for sale.
Those are pretty cars. All right, Derek.
So wait, what is the exact one? What is the polar opposite of a 66 Mustang convertible? Is that the question?
Yeah, if you want to flip the driving experience, total opposite driving experience from a 66 Mustang.
I would say it's not the car, it is the driving experience.
I should have said something different.
Yeah, you should have.
I'm gonna go with like a late 60s C10 Chevy pickup.
I've got another get. I'm gonna say a Corvette because if you want something to handle, you go get a Corvette, not a Mustang.
You're all wrong, but Derek's on the right path. A 99 911.
Nice.
Oh,
engine back. It handles extremely well. Lightweight, 6-cylinder, not an 8. All that kind of stuff. Different era. Couple decades later. So
Good choice.
yeah, I could have bought 2 of them for the price I sold my Mustang for, because 996s are cheap, but they're not going to stay that way.
Right.
And there's a reason they're cheap. And it's one of the primary reasons I got rid of my Porsche. But it wasn't in the Matt Farah podcast. It was one of them that you were doing auction. I can't remember which one. You were talking about auctions and stuff and cars, and you were telling the story. And your co-host or your guest said that the IMS bearing is not that big of a deal anymore, and that they've got dozens of ways to fix them. What is that? Because I still hear that that's a, when it fails, it's an engine. So I guess there's a way to catch it prior to failure.
Yeah. So this is the biggest pain about these cars is the IMS bearing. I'm not an expert, but it's a bearing that has half soaked in oil, like near the transmission, near the engine. And if that thing goes, it means like it starts breaking into little metal pieces and it blows your engine. And when I researched my 996, all the dealers said we've never seen one blow over 30,000 miles. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen early. So I started looking for a 911 with 45,000 miles or more. So I bought one with 65,000 miles on it, and I thought I was clear and safe. So I decided, like 2 years later, I was going to buy this 65 Corvette, but I needed to tell my Porsche to do it. I took it to a place where they would actually do an oil change. They cut the oil filter in half, check it for metal shards. And I wanted the good, the check mark for good health. So I could consciously sell my 911 knowing the IMS bearing is fine. Well, they cut it in half and there were metal shards, even though I had 65,000 miles on it. So I had to get the IMS bearing replaced. And that killed my chance of getting that 65 Corvette, which was unfortunate. But when they do that, they got to take out the transmission. So you might as well get a new clutch. I tell everybody, factor in $4,000 into the price if it hasn't had a new IMS bearing, and just get it done and don't worry about it. And then you're good. You're good. Good for it.
That goes exactly with, I guess, where I've thought. I know there's actually an oil plug that you can connect or put in that's kind of magnetic, and it attracts those metal particles if it starts to fail. Yeah. And then it somehow puts a light on your dashboard.
So don't listen to them when they say any car over 30,000 miles is good, because they're not. But I love my Porsche. It's awesome. I mean, it's so much fun, and the starters go. You replace the starter. I did it myself. It's not that big of a deal.
Honestly, they're pretty easy to work on probably up until the 991s, 992s, really. I did a lot of the work on my Boxster myself. These guys know, and our fans know how much I enjoy working on cars, really, when it comes down to it. Yeah. But the big truck, Derek, is like the opposite experience as well, for sure. That is not in a great way, but it is a different experience. Now let's get the driving experience here. Tell us about the Mustang and tell us about the Porsche. Do you have a favorite between the two? Do you?
They're so different. My wife will say it. She loves the roar of the 289 V8 in the Mustang. Because I had Flowmaster exhaust, or it's a 4-speed car. Actually, had limited slip differential, which was kind of cool for a convertible. And that was basically a cruiser. You're flooring it, and the minivan's practically passing you by. Even it's all drama. It's not a lot of speed. So I had someone telling me I was hot rodding around town, and I'm like, no, I was just driving it kind of hard. But when you look at, they're not the fastest things in the world, even with the V8. It's just the experience of the top down and V8 rumble, and you're not taking any curves fast on that thing. Whereas the 911, you can just zip around all over the place, So they're both a lot of fun. I think everybody should have like 3 cars. You should have 3 different cars. Each one's a different experience, different era, different whatever, and have a good time with it.
That's a good
3. That's not enough.
I'd say that's a good question. I've always been in agreement with the 3-car theory, and I've said it for years. And I always felt you need to have a Jeep Wrangler or something in that garage, because you're going to do your off-roading, and then you got to have some sort of sports car, Porsche, Ferrari, Corvette, something along those lines. And then you got to have some sort of sedan that to be a little bit practical, to go out and, you can go as crazy as
3 is just a good starting
Well,
point.
exactly. And plus, why do you need a Jeep? A Model T can off-road as good as a Jeep.
Ooh. Oh,
This
sounds like
guy.
You ever had a Model T off-road? It's amazing.
That's what they were made for initially, right? There were no.
Yeah. 3-point suspension. It'll do anything.
Yeah, I thought of it before. I would have some type of modern 911. I would have a 65 Shelby GT350, and then something like a 53 Skylark or something like that. I should go earlier, or I should go like Gullwing, but I'm talking like realistic price points. The 65 Shelby is not realistic, but you know what I'm saying. So.
I'm a strong believer in one from every decade, starting in the 1880s and moving up through the mid 70s. Anything after that's just boring.
I was actually in a collection the other day, and it blew my mind because he had a curved dash, like a 1903. He had brass era. He had big post-war Cadillac. He had new GTR, Acura NSX, Barris Custom. I said, you have the most diverse collection. And I looked, I'm like, you have every decade except for 1980. I'm like, we got to get you a Grand National or
yes,
911 in the 80s. That's a good car.
Dodge Rampage.
Wow. Dodge.
Maybe a little Red Express.
He had one of those.
That's 70s.
Yeah, that's 78, 77. He
but
had one of those.
I will say, Greg just talked me into getting an 80s car because I always, for some reason, I always forget about the Buick Grand Nationals and that amazing car. So I'd go up to the 80s. Okay, you got
the 80, 81 Chevy Malibus, the little 2-doors and the wagons.
Oh yeah, yep,
those are pretty cool cars.
Mm-hmm.
You can't forget about basically the square body pickup truck. I mean,
yeah, those are up. Those are going strong right now.
Oh yeah.
Honda CRX.
Those are going strong too.
Those are going crazy numbers. I kicked myself for selling my last one 10 years ago and not buying another.
Should have kept your first vehicle like our daddies told us. My first one was a square body K5 Blazer, a two-wheel drive K5 Blazer. I still got it.
You still have it?
Oh yeah.
Wow, that's a serious ride. Mine was a 68 Mustang Coupe. Unfortunately, it was 3-speed and 6-cylinder with no options, and I don't want that car back. If you gave it to me, I paid $1,000 for it, and it didn't have an engine at the time. So, yeah, I had my sisters and I in high school, we shared a Chrysler Laser Turbo, which
What year?
like an 86. And, that was a cool car at the time. You never see them now because they basically self-destructed.
I'm a big 80s front wheel drive Chrysler fan.
Why?
I had the Rampage. I had the Omni 024. I had the LeBaron. My parents had the 600 ES convertible, the LeBaron, the 87 LeBaron convertible. We had minivans literally from every year for almost 20 years, 30 years straight. I can't remember when my dad really quit buying those. So I'm just a big, front wheel drive, and I love the purple over gray, Dodge Daytona Chrysler lasers, and then they had that 86 Laser XT that then the ads was red with T-tops. And
What about the Maserati Chrysler?
the TC?
Yeah.
Oh, the TC.
That, I'll be honest, my dad had one ordered, and it just never produced itself. And by the time it produced itself, he had his order in for his Viper and elected not to go with the Maserati. And, we had the 87 LeBaron, which everybody says is the same car. And they kind of sort of are, but they kind of sort of aren't. If I had to go back and if I had a choice between a LeBaron or the Maserati, I'd do the Maserati. But
They're not burning up the charts on value, so you can get one pretty cheap.
I see them all the time between 3 and 6 or
Right.
3 and 7.
Right.
That's one of the things I like to do. And I hinted to you in the beginning that we might end up doing a new segment. And that's kind of it, is your perfect car collection for, and then we'll pick a number, 30, 40, or $50,000, because you can, everybody thinks these, when you had Farrah on his show, he was what, $29 million in cars.
Yeah. So let me tell you, the premise of that is the ultimate garage. So people that are car people, I keep them to 10 cars, which is pretty fascinating because, I had McKeel Haggerty on. He had, he didn't pick an F40. He picked an F1, and he had a specific reason, but I don't remember why. Then I had Wayne Creaney on, and he picked the F40 and not the F1. And then Farrah picked both. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah,
I'd probably be in Farrah's boat. If I did that, I would want one of each.
Well, it's funny. I have Ken Gross on next week, and he's the expert of experts when it comes to car folks. And not only was it like this kind of car, but it was this exact car that is currently in this exact museum or in this guy's exact, he got it down to like minutia.
He gave you VIN numbers, right?
Right. And
Exactly.
That was really fascinating because you can tell how astute he is. It was just mind blowing. Every single car of his was an exact car, which I need to take notes on it because I need to go just see those 10 cars before I die.
I'm like the total opposite. I don't want anything that anybody else has had. I want to build it my own way with my own hands and be totally different than everybody else. That's just me though.
I love that idea, but I'm not that skilled. I really love that idea. My wife wants to do a rat rod, but she wants to do a craft rod. So it's like bedazzled and
yeah,
all girly and stuff. And I'd love to.
I know some guys.
If you go through my Facebook feed from 7 to 10 years ago and you look at the photos from then, I've got a ton of bedazzled cars that have knitting things added to them, and all the knitted car covers and knitted wheel covers and mirror covers, and because the ex-girlfriend was kind of big into how you could craft and glitter cars, and
well, you guys will probably shoot me, especially Will. We do have a 2014 Toyota FJ, and that was her like dream car. And I said, we got to get it now if we're ever going to get it because we're not making them anymore. But I let her girl it up, so she's got like little decals and stuff on the dash, and it's got bedazzled cover for the steering wheel, the bedazzled. And I drew the line at the pink camouflage seat covers. I said, there's no way I'm going to be seen driving that car with camo.
Wait. I need to know what color the FJ is on the outside.
It's white, which isn't what we wanted.
Oh, okay.
We like it. So, yeah, it's not pink.
Greg, as long as it's not yours, man, we're good.
Okay.
What was that statement about pink there? I love pink cars. I have this. There has to be a perfect shade, but I'd love to have a Mary Kay car collection.
That's a good collection if you could ever put that thing together. There's some pretty iconic cars in there. If you include the Playboy cars.
Yeah. See, and there's one Mary Kay car that I want for work. I know we're going off on work here, but Mary Kay did the Cadillac XLR.
Yeah.
They did a Mary Kay pink. And to me, that belongs in the Corvette Museum, not only because of the XLR connection with Corvette, but also that kind of social, cultural aspect of Mary Kay and the Mary Kay pink cars. And I think it's like the ultimate XLR to have in the collection.
So you mean to tell me you didn't get one for the exhibit y'all have going on right now?
No, because the exhibit we have going on right now is non-GM vehicles.
You've got an Impala in there.
That's to represent the hot rod story.
You said non-GM.
The production cars are non-GM.
It's an Impala.
Yeah.
See, the production cars, the cars that had multiples made. You're just whining because of who built the car. You didn't use my Dart. Well, put a Corvette engine in the Dart.
Derek had to qualify his pink car with all this museum talk and all that. And I just flat say, I like pink cars. I don't need to, make excuses why I want a pink car in my collection.
The Hemi Cuda had a pink, I think a couple of rare pink colors,
Oh, yes.
'67 Mustang Playboy pink. I
Well,
tried
that had Panther pink, and
yeah.
Tim Wellborn's got the car I want, which is a 70 Charger with sunroof, white vinyl top, and everything, and it's in Panther pink and absolutely gorgeous. But that's Wellborn. I mean, he's got some to die for.
He's got a nice collection, don't he?
Yeah.
When I joined this podcast, I didn't realize we talk about pink cars all night.
That's how we roll.
That's how you
Notice
roll.
I haven't said a whole lot.
Get a pink pickup truck.
Actually, so one of the guys that works at the museum with me is actually one of our preservation techs. He to surprise his wife for her 30th birthday, he built her a truck. She loves old trucks. It's a 50s Chevy and hot rodded. I think it's got a small block in it, but he painted it pink for her. And it I'll be honest, I've seen it. It is a gorgeous truck. He nailed it the way he built it, and the pink he chose. It is amazing.
That's cool.
Okay, you don't.
So, Will, when are you going to build a pink hot rod?
Now, I did see a collection yesterday that had a really gorgeous Bentley. I don't know what year, but it won Pebble Beach. I mean, this is like 20 years ago. It won Pebble Beach, and it wasn't officially pink, but it looked very strong, like a metallic kind of pink look. So, I need to look it up, see when it won, but it was years ago, and it's been sitting around for 20 years since then. So
it seems you can find just about one of every model of car in pink for some reason. I mean, You can go as hideous as Paris Hilton's old Bentley Continental GT, or kind of as classy as the Panther pink of the Mopars of whatever, the early 70s, late 60s, and I kind of wish they had a Panther pink on the new Challenger. Not that would get me to buy one, but
okay, I don't know. Actually, I take it back. It's not really pink, but I don't know if you can see that.
No, Will's got a technique for doing that, but I don't.
Get real close to the camera. Real close.
Oh yeah, there you go.
There you go.
It's not focusing. Oh, there
you go.
Yeah, it's kind of a creamy tone.
Yeah.
Pink. Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out if I would be seen in it. I probably would.
It's a Bentley. I would.
It's a Bentley.
I don't know if I could ever build a pink car. I mean, I guess if it was the right thing with the right customer, then yeah, I could probably do one pink, but everything would just.
Let's cut through the crap. For a big enough check is what Will's saying. He will build a pink hot rod.
If my daughter wanted a pink stripe on her car or something like that, then yeah, I would do that. But my daughters don't like pink either, so I'm pretty good. Pretty good. We are doing an accent color on a Cadillac that's kind of a rosy gold. It's kind of got a little bit of a pink hue to it, but it is for a lady. I've been wanting to use that color for a while, and it worked perfect with this Cadillac. The Cadillac is red, and so like the engine and the accent on the wheels and stuff like that is kind of a rosy gold kind of color. And it works really well. Y'all have to wait till SEMA to see it, though.
I've always said that leave it to Apple to make pink cool for guys, because they came up with this term rose gold, and all of a sudden it's everywhere. I see rose.
This is a girl's car.
Rose gold computers going out all the time.
Now, I would probably wear a rose gold Rolex if someone gave me one.
No, yeah. For the 6 hours I owned an Apple iWatch, and I realized I had no need for an Apple iWatch because I like real watches, which you're giving away one on your podcast, which we'll talk about.
Look at that segue.
It was rose gold. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about your podcast. I want to know a little bit more. I mean, I've only got 8 or 10 episodes wedged in because somebody asked me today. I listen to 23 different podcasts per week. So it's hard to get a new one in there.
Yeah, I appreciate you listening 8 to 12. But yeah, I am giving away a Porsche watch.
Oh, dang.
Pretty cool. And if it goes well, I'm going to give away a Martini Porsche watch. with the racing stripes on it.
Well,
So
we're going to end this podcast now because us having you on the podcast probably disqualifies me from the watch.
Yeah,
No.
everybody that listens to us is going to listen to Greg now. So
Yeah. Yeah, we just lost all our viewers.
Well,
So
we're-
our former guests of your show able to win that watch?
anyone except my family members can win that watch.
Yes.
all 5 that are on Facebook right now just went to Greg's.
now you made me forget what I was going to say about that watch and everything. Thanks, Will.
Well, it's just one of those things, we're all trying to get people engaged. And, I think you guys do a great job engaging by, talking about cool stuff and having some cool guests. And your conversations are obviously very cool and fun and go in different directions. So my podcast is kind of that, but I talk about market trends and I like to interview some experts, and then I kind of do goofy stuff. If you listen way back, what's that?
What did I tell you? Look, somebody's done posted on our Facebook. How do I enter? Thank you, Amanda. How do I enter? Watch us. Come on now.
Go to my Instagram.
Go to Greg's. There you go. Go to Greg's Instagram.
There you go.
Well,
So
I go to his
we'll-
website, and that tells you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we could tell you the answer because I know.
Hey.
But I do goofy stuff. Like, I don't know if you went far enough back. I actually did the math to figure out what car is worth its weight in gold. Like, who else is doing that, right? That was a lot of math. So I'm not going to tell you the answer. You could probably guess. I had a buddy sing the 12 Days of a Car Christmas for Christmas. So I try to do goofy stuff as well as, review a bunch of the market trends, do some auction results. I like to figure out what is trending up or down in the marketplace. I like to say not for investment purposes, but so you know what car to buy now while you can still afford it.
What car can you buy that costs $1,000 an ounce?
So gold is more than that.
I guess I know, but I was giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I'll tell you if you want. There's 2 cars it could potentially be. One of them is eliminated because of weight. So if you guys could guess, let's do another trivia quiz here. What car would you guess is worth its actual weight in gold? There's only one car.
And that's ounce for ounce, right?
Ounce for ounce.
So it's worth whatever, $1,200, $1,800. I don't even know where gold is right now. Everybody's crypto.
Yeah. So if the car weighed 3,000 pounds, it's what 3,000 pounds of gold would be worth. Man, Derek's really got his thinking headphones on.
I have no idea. but I'm
I've
gonna
got a
go out
couple
on the
guesses.
limb
Let me.
It's gonna-
Can
I think I've got it to like 2 guesses.
I've got a question.
It's
I've got a question.
Let me
Does
guess
it
first
actually
and just
have gold
get out
in the
of it.
car?
Well, so Will, it's not a pickup truck.
No, I figured that. It's going to be some kind of vintage race car with history.
Does it have gold in the car? Actual gold?
No,
Does it
no,
use it in its
Not a
construction?
McLaren F1. No.
Okay.
Derek?
I assume it's not. Well, what's coming? So, although I think you're nodding to Will's question, just disqualified mine. But the only thing that could come to mind for me would be Bugatti Royale.
That's the one that gets eliminated because of weight.
Wait, okay.
Because those things are like 7,000 pounds.
Yes.
My guess would be a 250 GTO, but
We have a winner. You don't want to watch.
That was my other one. Was the Ferrari
bragging
Ferrari
rights.
250? Yeah.
Yeah, so
and what valuation are we putting on the Ferrari for that week?
about 78 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the one up in Chicago apparently was bought for about 70 million. It wasn't one of the best ones in the world. It's a very nice one. So if you got one of the best ones in the world, you got to figure it's probably around $80 million for one of those suckers. So wait, who got that? John, you want a thumbs up.
Hey,
How many of those were made?
33 and then 3 Series 2 cars with the 4-liter engine.
and
So
48 of them still exist.
Right. Actually, I saw a replica like 2 weeks ago. The same guy that had the GTR and the brass car and the curved dash. He had a replica in a bubble, wrapped in a bubble.
How many are still there? All of them?
Great question. I don't know, but I think if not all of them, very close to all of them.
I think
I-
all of them because
I
they
think all of
they
them.
had them all at Pebble Beach. What, 10 years ago, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
Boy, wouldn't you hate to have an earthquake and a hole open up there?
They were all lined up along the shoreline.
Yeah.
It was $1 billion worth of cars.
So John won, but Derek got the one that was second place.
That is
those were my two guesses when I said I had two, Bugatti Royale and the Ferrari 250. But
you had to go with the most expensive cars on the planet, and
exactly.
I do think within the next few years, the McLaren F1 might become a contender.
But here's my question:
it's lightweight,
to me, a 35 Ford 3-window coupe is worth as much as a Ferrari GTO, because the GTO Ferrari, I mean, I would have no use for it. I would not enjoy it. I would not do nothing with it. Give me a 35 Ford 3-window coupe. We're ready to go.
So I know Derek wants to say something, but you remind me of a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon. So Calvin and Hobbes, they said, let's make a wish. And Calvin wished to be all-powerful, rule of the world, or something insane. Hobbes wished for a sandwich. And then later on, Hobbes has his sandwich, and Calvin doesn't. And he's like, well, who had the better wish, right?
There you go.
Yours is realistic and attainable and achievable and enjoyable. Right. So I'm all for that.
So my question goes back to the gold. Did you disqualify, or did you actually look at and how would the gold-plated DeLoreans fit into that? Because would the value of the gold plate of the DeLorean itself count into the value?
I did not. So it would have been market value, and there's no way those things are more than maybe 150 grand, something like that.
I wouldn't even know the last time one sold figures.
Yeah. Because there are only three.
There's only two of. I thought there was only two. I thought they said they were going to do three, but I thought they only ever pulled off doing two. But I could be wrong.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, I'm not a DeLorean expert.
I got my Barry Willis book here. I can look it up. But
I am trying to find a DeLorean though.
I'm sorry.
Well, that's easy. What are you looking for it for?
So remember the Leonard Nimoy TV show In Search Of back in the early 80s? Anybody? Am I too old? Oh, nice.
Oh, Lord.
So I thought it would be fun I did an episode of $1 million cars that are MIA. So I did all the cars that are worth over $1 million that are missing in action. So like the convertible Ferrari at the end of the Pink Panther movie, the real convertible Ferrari, nobody knows where that thing is. Well, honorable mentions included one of the Back to the Future DeLoreans that was at Planet Hollywood in Hawaii. And when they went out of business and liquidated, nobody knows where that car went to. And that car was about $250,000, $300,000. So it didn't make the top list. It was an honorable mention, but I thought that'd be kind of fun to find. And I did a bunch of searching and I never found it. So
I'm really interested in what you just talked about, the $1 million cars that can't be, can't be found. Yeah. So is that one of your podcasts?
You really should listen. Yes.
I want to. I really do. Yeah,
it's from last year. And there's a James Bond DB5 that was stolen from an airport in Miami. Mm-hmm. And we have one of the real ones here in Cincinnati that was bought for $5.5 million. And that one's supposedly like in Saudi Arabia in the royal family's garage, supposedly. There's some really cool cars that are missing. Jim Morrison's, 67 GT500 Shelby. I think that people know where that one is. But it's pretty fascinating. There's a lot of cool stuff out there that's still missing.
And I'll just throw one at you, Greg, that I'm looking for, and we can put it out on the podcast. But the Corvette that was given to, oh my God, I keep blanking on names.
If you say Pete Rose, I know where it is.
The what?
If you say Pete Rose, I know where that is.
No. The Corvette that was given to, why can't the
astronaut?
Oh my, yeah, the first astronaut in space.
Okay.
The first American. Why am I blanking on his name?
Neil Armstrong.
No, he was on the moon.
No. Was that Glenn?
Nope. Glenn was the first one to go orbit.
Buzz?
Nope.
Buzz Lightyear.
You're not helping. Anyway, the first Corvette given to the astronaut. I'm making a fool of myself right now because I can't remember his name, and we are live.
Well, our education has failed us in this.
Shepard.
Yeah. So is
Alan
that the
Shepard.
Alan Shepard. Is
Alan
that the
Shepard.
gold and black Corvette?
No. It's a white 1962, and they took it to styling studio and actually updated. They did some work to the interior, and this is what will give it away: a NASA chronograph, the ones identical to the ones that he flew with, was embedded into the center console. And there were some other features that were added to the interior. And that car no one knows where it is. My fear is that we don't know the VIN number of it. My fear is that it was found at some point and restored back to a stock interior because somebody didn't know why it had been modified.
So it's the 62 white?
Yeah.
What color interior?
Black.
Were they black and white photos?
No, actually, they were color. They were the ones taken at the design were colored photos. Yep.
Just want to make sure. Okay.
Yep.
There is the 1984 Corvette that Pete Rose won for breaking the record. It's here in Cincinnati at a sports memorabilia in its lobby with like 450 miles on it, unrestored original, which it's an 84 Corvette. So
yeah,
I don't,
I mean, I knew the car was in existence. I don't think I knew it was in Cincinnati, but I knew it was around. So that's kind of cool. I'm glad it's up in Cincinnati. That's close if we ever want to borrow it.
Yeah, I'm sure they'd be open to it.
Oh, Lord. Really? You got to bring a dog onto this?
Hey, he wanted up here. All right, you got to go.
But no, I think that's I'm going to go back and listen because I find that fascinating because there are so many cars that are now. So that, John, I believe that's the one that they used in the Grand Tour to represent the car. Is that right?
Yes. That's as close as I can come in a quick Google search.
Yeah, that's the one that they actually used in the Grand Tour episode where they talked about the astronaut Corvettes to represent the first one given to an astronaut. But we're still hoping to find the original.
I wish I could tell you more of the cars that are missing that are worth over $1 million. I'm just totally drawing a blank.
Well, I was going to
Hey, look how long it took me to get Alan Shepard's name. I mean,
I was going to say, you really need to put a search on your podcast page.
I do. My website needs so much help. So I'm working on it, though.
I've got a long drive next Wednesday, and that is on my list to listen to. So don't say no more.
I'll either talk to you via email or after the podcast, and I'll tell you a really good service for website hosting for podcasts.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Just so you know, it's a one-man show. I do everything. I'm not a web guy, so.
Then you want this service.
Yeah,
Yeah, that guy right up there in that corner. I don't know how to do this. Anyway, the guy over there. Anyway, John is a one-man show.
Not
anyway.
me.
Even
Not
here.
me.
Yeah, because these two are just here to talk. That one does all the work.
I'm lucky to make an Instagram post.
Yeah, tell me about it. we might have more than 6 Facebook or 6 viewers if.
You know what I want to do is, like I said, one of my things, I do it once a month. It's the Ultimate Garage. I shoehorn people to 10 cars. I want to have the 3 of you on at the same time, and you have to come up with 10 cars that all 3 of you agree on.
Ain't a chance.
Ooh.
How
long is that podcast?
That would be a great podcast.
10 cars that the 3 of us agree upon, or 10 cars that the No Driving Glove staff agrees upon?
No, like maybe each of you get 3, and then the 3 of you have to agree on the 10th. I don't know. It'd be a fun little episode.
Well, what episode did we do? It was way back when, and I actually chose something that Will should have because I went totally against the grain. I can't remember what that was.
What was that? I do remember that.
Yeah, and I picked something that was confusing to everybody too. I don't know.
Oh, we had to pick a car that was under a certain price and between certain year models or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, it was a price thing. Find 3 cars under $5,000 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just to show you the depth of what I try to do for my audience, I do a market trend. So I did a market trend on Fox body Mustangs. And basically I looked at all the, 1, 3, 5 year trends. But what I decided to do is Dennis Collins had sold his Fox bodies at an auction and they achieved record prices, right? For Fox bodies. I mean, it made like national news. And I don't know if his family's from the dealership world or what, but a lot of them were just mothballed from new. And so I took, what's the sticker on an 83 Mustang GT? And if you had taken that, whatever, $10,000 and put it in a Mustang GT, here's what it sold for. Or you put that $10,000 in the stock market. And so I did that for all the cars that he sold, probably about 13 cars. And so of all the cars, not counting storage or insurance, how many of the cars that were record prices for Fox body Mustangs, how many of the, let's say 17 cars, how many of the cars exceeded as if you had put your money in the stock market?
0.
I'm going to go with 5.
I don't know what the cars were, but it's probably a really. So if I had like say an 87 Fox body and I bought it in 87 and I know they weren't stock and I sold it in 2014, if I would have put the same money in 87 into, I might say 2 without knowing the exact cars that were in it.
All right, y'all are really close. So if I factored in insurance and storage, which I didn't, well, you would be correct. There was only one. It was the 7-Up commemorative edition, dark green, emerald green convertible with white interior, and it sold for $82,300. And if you had put that money in the bank or in the stock market, it would have been $82,100. It was like $100 off. So
now, did this 7-Up edition Mustang just happen to sell at say 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday?
it might have. It probably did when people were liquored up.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's stupid money for a 7-Up edition. I don't even know if Bring a Trailer could bring that.
One at Barrett Jackson brought over 100 like last year or year before. It was a super
Fox
low
body?
mileage. Yep.
Must have been like 0 miles or something.
Yeah, it was crazy low miles, and it brought stupid money.
Yeah,
I remember shaking my head, going, "Really?"
But here's the thing: there's so many of those that come across the block nowadays that just confuse. I know at least me, and I know probably Will and John, but it's just baffling when some of these cars go for that much money.
you're right. Some of them you can see why, and you can see some of the trends in the marketplace where you're like, oh, that makes sense. But then others defy logic. I mean, I think it was Scottsdale. We had a one-off, like, I don't know, 89 Mercedes wagon that had a I don't even know, 6.3 transplant, one-off. And we had the estimate like 30 grand, and 2 guys had to have it. It sold for $100,000.
It was a 93 Cobra R coupe that
those are rare.
Yeah, brought 132,000.
Well, yeah, that's a different story.
It's still a Fox body Mustang.
It is.
Period.
One
No
of
matter what
one of
has been done
500?
to it, what's underneath it, what engine, what transmission, still a Fox body Mustang that brought 132.
They only made like 107 or something.
Yeah, I was say it's a real low production number, and it's the only. Now, we 93, so it's Fox body, so it was also the only independent suspension. That one had the independent.
It
Did it have an independent rear suspension in that one, or was that the next? Was that the SN95?
I think that was a different one.
Oh, the 95 had the 351 in it.
Yeah.
That white one.
This thing had 235 horsepower. Woo, boy, that's a neck breaker, and 500 miles on it.
Yeah.
You know what? The coolest Fox body Mustang I remember from being a kid?
Sailing.
Now, I grew up here. I'll give you a hint. I grew up in Michigan.
That's the R model.
That's the one that brought 132,000.
Was it Ice Tea?
No, the Michigan State Police actually had them for chase vehicles.
Oh yeah, we had them in Florida too. Yep.
Yeah, they were Michigan State blue with the big red gumball on top.
Yeah, Georgia
And the big badge on the side.
Georgia State Troopers had Fox body Mustangs as well.
And the Mustang Museum of America just down the road here has a whole collection of various Mustang police cars over the years. And I do think they have a Michigan one and a Georgia one for sure. But
I think they're SSP, special order.
Yeah.
I actually went to one of their liquidation lots at the police station to try to get my first Mustang. And they were just so ragged out. We walked away. They're like $3,500 back in the day.
Dang.
That was before, when we were talking CRXs earlier. I mean, you could have bought a CRX for $1,500, $1,200.
But try to find one that's halfway decent.
Yeah, remind me though, John, didn't you just have a chance to get one for free?
Well, that was a basket case project, but I paid $2,600 for my last one, and I bought it in 2005, and it was a '89 SI, rust free, everything. I mean, it was a nice car, all stock. So that would probably be a $12,000 car today.
If I'm not mistaken, you had one when we were in college together, right?
Yeah, I had the red '89 SI that had the ZC dual overhead cam swap and the iBox springs, and that was a modified one.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one that I ran over the deer in.
You survived? Was it a baby deer?
No, the deer was dead in the road.
Oh.
And I went airborne. I have this tendency to maybe tailgate, and the car in front of me dodged it, and at 60 some miles an hour, I flew over it. And
there were two good looking Hondas in McPherson when we were.
And mine wasn't one of them.
No. I remember looking at yours and thinking that's pretty cool for a CRX. And then Chris Phillips had a Civic that was lowered and had like 17 or 18-inch wheels on it, and he had some work done to the engine and stuff, and it was pretty cool too. So
yeah, I think I had did I have those 17 TSWs at that time? I know I didn't have it on when I hit the deer, otherwise it would have just completely totaled the car. But
so my first car was a '68 Mustang Coupe I mentioned earlier, and it had deer whistles on it.
Oh, I remember those.
The problem was it had a dent in the front from where it hit the deer. So I'm like, were the whistles before or were the whistles after? I couldn't figure it out.
I would bet they put them on after the fact.
we had a SHO, a Taurus SHO that had deer whistles on it, and it still hit a deer.
Okay.
So there you go.
There you go.
No,
they were just there to look cool. That's all.
Yeah, it actually did dress it up a little bit.
I've had
Especially if you got the chrome ones.
That's right.
Oh yeah, JC Whitney special.
Yeah.
No, don't go to get a stick going down that again.
I've had 3 deer incidents, and one was the dead one. One, it broadsided my S10, and it ran into me. For a change, it was a little bit different. And the other one that we won't discuss because it's probably too disgusting. But again, it hit me as opposed to me hitting it. So
you're a deer magnet.
Oh, somebody in the comments, I'm sorry I didn't have my comment window up, did say Alan Shepard probably before I did. So
yeah, it was another guy we went to school with.
No.
There you go.
Yeah.
I can't remember names to save my life. Heck, I forget.
Neither can I.
I almost forgot Derek's name when I was introducing him. So
neither can I, Steve.
Just call me. Just call me whatever you want. I don't care.
Will and John, as you go back in my podcast episodes, be sure to check out the special guest I had on, Mr. Derek Moore.
Oh, good Lord. You were hurting for guests, wasn't you?
It was an honor.
Well, no, he didn't have like Derek, the no driving gloves guy. He had the Corvette, curator and director of collections on. So it was all about Corvette. And he forced me to pick the top. Let's see, it was the I had to pick the top 10 Corvettes in history.
Right.
But then I had to pick the worst one. Was he out of nowhere asked me to pick between 3 Corvettes which one I would crush.
Keep cash.
I love that section of your
Now, to be fair, you get to keep one and you get to cash one in. You do unfortunately have to crush one. Do you remember which one you crushed? See, it wasn't that painful. It should have traumatized you forever.
I don't remember which one I chose. That's bad.
Probably a 63 split window if I know you.
Yeah,
Tanker.
probably.
Fuelie.
No, I'm pretty sure I remember I kept the 83 because you had that on there, and of course that's just too significant. I think I cashed in. Was it maybe the Falconer ZR12 concept?
Oh, right. Didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I throw in the snake skinner too? Do you remember?
I think Snake Skinner was possibly the one I chose to crush because there were 2 of them built.
Okay.
One was a show car, one was the real car. I think that might have been what it came down to.
That's a very touchy question to be asking the curator of the National Corvette Museum on which one he'd crush.
It was.
Yeah.
I think we even did a disclaimer.
Especially when there's several of them that's already been crushed, and you could have just picked one of them and been good.
Well, you know what? If people can't make the decision, I just say, all right, what comes in third? And then when they tell me, I'm like, all right, that's when you're going to crush. Yeah. Actually, I do have a question for you, Derek. What is your take on the Restomod Corvette 63 specifically trend? Pro, against, thoughts?
So what were we talking about? No. So here's where I stand on anything hot rod, resto mod, stuff like that. I'm all for it, and I think it's part of the hobby. It is, it's kind of like Will. You build something that you love, but hopefully you're doing it with something that truly isn't savable. Something's wrong with the frame's rotted out, so you're going to put an Art Morrison chassis under it, or there's just something really, really wrong with it that it's going to take way too much to get it back to an original car. Then go ahead and resto mod it, hot rod it, whatever. But if it's a car that's savable and can return back to original, my take on it as kind of a purist is to take it back to original. But we've had some resto mods on exhibit lately. I've opened up the doors to bringing in resto mods. We have what I call a mini exhibit in the Sky Dome called Corvette Reimagined, and we have an early C1 resto mod. And right now, the other car in there is one of the Sam Aero cars, the semi-autonomous Corvettes that Sam Schmidt drives. And we have those 2 next to each other, kind of telling the story about why people modify Corvettes and turn them into something other than the stock Corvette that's built at the plant across the street. And it varies from someone's interest and passion in having an old Corvette that has modern features, and somebody like Sam Schmidt that needs to modify it to be able to drive it.
Sure.
So, I don't have an issue with it. Just try to do it with a car that truly is not in any way savable.
So I got a question.
I
got a question here. Can you have a car that is restored and modified in the same car? Can it be restored and modified?
I think so. For example, my old Mustang, if I kept it, I would have put on front disc brakes.
But that's modified. It's not restored. So you either got restored or modified. There's no such thing. There's no such damn thing as a resto mod. It's either restored or it's modified. Okay, you can modify it in a way that you can unbolt some stuff and put it back to being restored. But it's either modified or restored. There's no such thing as a resto mod. Barrett Jackson has totally screwed everything up. There's no in between. It's either original or it's not original. So it's restored or modified. There's no such thing as a resto mod. That word actually drives me insane.
I like your argument.
No. I like this argument, and it's interesting because John and I, over the last couple episodes that Will hasn't been able to be on, we've been talking about words or trends that bother us in the hobby, and one of those things is these words that have been made up to increase values or muddy the waters of the hobby. And I have to agree, Will. Resto mod is a strange word.
It's
And
stupid.
You're right. It's either restored or modified, or maybe, you might want to say it's a restored car with modifications. And what I'm clarifying there is I know a lot of guys that restore Model Ts, Model As, Chevy, 490s like I have, things like that. And they'll do that. They'll add, especially on cars that only had rear brakes, they'll add some type of front braking system. And that's out of a safety, feature, just to make sure, especially if they're doing long touring with it,
But
that
it's
safe.
modified.
Right. It's restored to an original, all of its original factory appearance, other than its safety modifications. To so yes, there's
You said the word. You said the word.
But the AC, AACA, or I know all of a sudden I forgot my acronym. The Antique Automobile Club of America allows, even in their judging, for safety modifications. That's probably more of a legal thing on their side. Which I do believe. I'm gonna go against. Let's see here, 3 commenters, Will and Derek, and I'm gonna say you can have a modified restored car. You can't have a modified original restored car. There's always that. You can restore a car. That's making new again, but there's nothing to say that you can't modify it. You're doing preservation work. I mean, it's playing with the terms.
But the word resto means put back original, restored. You're putting it back the way it came. All right. I understand modifying a car for safety issues to bring it up to today's standards so you can, enjoy your car and drive it. But at that point in time, it is modified. You just tell people, hey, I restored the car, but to bring it up to modern times, it has been modified here and modified there. It's like black and white. Black is black, white is white. You mix the two together, it's gray. Okay, you can't have restored and modified in the same damn car.
So why don't we take this and talk about pro touring? No, I'm just kidding.
We can kind of go. Of course, I typed into the good old University of Google here, restoration definition.
I tell you what, one thing I want to see in about actually any moment now, I want to see the $300,000 C2 split window Corvettes that were resto modded by premier builders that sold for $300,000 10 years ago. I want to see those resale values. Like, are those going to be like that Singer Porsche that sold for $850,000?
No.
Or are they going to be $100,000 steals?
Right.
They don't have miles on them, and they're awesome. They got, all the Morrison chassis. They got the LS3 engine. I'm curious to see what happens to those, because there's guys cranking out a ton of these cars for $300,000. What happens? Will they be collectible? I think they'll go down a third of the price for a while.
Greg, I completely agree with you. I
love to have one.
The restored cars that are put back original eventually will come back and be bringing more money than the hot rods that are being built. You can't tell me that a 63 Corvette with an LS engine and an Art Marson chassis, 18 and 20-inch wheels, big-ass brakes with a completely custom interior is a resto mod. No, it is a full-fledged hot rod.
Hot
Yeah,
rod.
I agree. Yeah.
I know a guy personally that builds one a year, takes it to Barrett Jackson, and makes a killing.
We got a guy here that does 4-year. It's this whole model.
Yeah.
That's all he does. And he does outstanding work. And to your point, Derek, they're all like, I was in there once and I'm like, he had 7 63 split windows, all in primer. And one was being restored to NCRS quality because it was a quality car. All the others were just horrible. Nobody would have saved him, but he's doing the right thing. So.
Right.
Yeah. And it keeps them on the road, and like I said, if they're just roached out cars that there's no salvaging, at least get them back on the road somehow.
Yeah.
Get a new chassis under there, get an LS swap in it, whatever you want to do, and have fun with it, because it is part of the hobby, and it's part of the fun too.
Yeah, agreed.
And Derek, believe it or not, I do agree with you. If you've got a valuable car that was worth something and was rare originally, you need to put that car back original. If you want to build a hot rod, let's go find a VIN number. That's all you need. Let's go find a VIN number. Let's make it the way you want it. Let's build it custom, and then go with it that way.
Agreed.
So what are the market trends on hot rods right now, Greg? Specifically, no, wait, let's figure this out, because we were talking about hot rods that are built, say, 10 years ago, and how they're going to do in the market maybe in another 10 years. So that's 20 years. So let's talk about like the hot market trend of hot rods built in, say, the 80s and 90s right now.
Extremely soft.
Exactly. Just
now, I will say, I'm going out on a limb here. Greg can correct me if I'm wrong, but there are some that were built in those days that are the iconic ones, the Riddler winners, the ones that Boyd Coddington built, the one that Sam Foose had his hands in, stuff like that. Some
the
of
ZZ Top car.
The exactly. The Cadzilla, those type of cars.
Well,
those cars are going to bring big money. Now, the regular 32 Ford Roadster that was built in 1985, it ain't bringing nothing.
You're so right. But like I think it was a Cadzilla. There was an article about that car. Like it was like $3 million in cost to build it, and it sold for $300,000. So the initial hit is just outrageously painful.
That was the Thundertaker. That wasn't that wasn't Cadzilla.
Anyway,
so
so
when Brian Fuller built.
You're right about that. I'll give you an example. I was with a client the other day, and he has a 32 Harrison-bodied Ford. It's got a flat head with real Arden heads on it. So just the heads alone are like, $60,000. And it had 50s original magnesium Halibran wheels on it. And I tried to do a private sale on it, shopped it around a little bit. And 2 times the comment I got was, if it was any color but red. And it was just, it was done 12 years ago, 15 years ago, and it was red with red and white striped seats. Nobody wants that right now. They want the black, they want the dark colors, they want the muted colors, they don't want the chrome. So to your point, they're flat unless they're up to date with today's trends. Iconic cars though. They're great cars.
So now, taking that into account, and of course historic significance plays into the sale of any car.
Yeah.
What is the market trend of the original hot rods that were built in the 50s and 60s that are not historically significant? Because there's historically significant ones out there that are.
Unfortunately, it's really soft right now. You just think about anything 30s, 40s, 50s into the early 60s with a few outliers. It's just soft. Anyone who wanted a 57 Chevy is selling, or a 57 T-Bird is selling their 57 T-Bird right now, because they're probably in their late 70s, and so there's just a glut of those cars out there. A couple of the outliers, and my argument is now's the time to buy that 53 Skylark, that 57 T-Bird, but some of the outliers, we've seen some Cadillacs, the Eldorado, the Brits, the Brougham, some of the rare ones. do tremendously well at auction. Like they're the pinnacle cars of that era.
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about production cars. I'm talking about hot rods, like your original, 50s, 60s era. Guy took a 32 Ford Deuce and hot rodded or roadster and did a high boy. Where's the market trend on that? Because some of those cars, at least that I've seen, they're still holding a pretty good value. I mean, not extremely high, but
yeah, they're not increasing. There are some that you'll see still trade well. It depends on who the builder was. It depends on the spec. It depends on does it have, what's the engine? If it's something special, it will definitely hold its value. When I was researching the 32 with the Arden heads, I mean, at RM Sotheby's, there was a lot of those cars we had sold over, 6 digits, well into $100,000, $200,000. But they were the ones that were built by a known builder, quality, that was special, So, yeah, they're soft. I mean, anything from the 30s and 40s right now is pretty soft. Woodies are extremely soft right now. They were hot as they could be 15 years ago, So, you raise your eyebrow. Do you have a Woody?
No. It was just, I guess I should use the phrasing, Lana.
Sorry.
To me, the problem with the 30s and early 40s cars are, the guys that grew up wanting those cars, unfortunately, were losing them. One of my good buddies, Ronald Griffith, that lived right down the road. I mean, the newest thing in his collection was a 40 Ford Coupe, and unfortunately, we lost Ronald, a couple of years ago, and those guys unfortunately are leaving us, and it sucks bad. I have one street rod in the shop, 148 and older car in my shop right now, and it kind of hurts my heart a little bit because that's what I grew up around is street rods, 48 and older cars. And, I thought for the rest of my life that 48 and older cars would be the hottest things out. And
so wait, I got to stop. It sounds like you're defining a street rod as a customized car pre-48.
Right. Right. That's what a street rod is. 48 and older modified is a street rod.
I don't agree with that because the original hot rod clubs were all the guys coming back from war building their high boy Deuce coupes, and those were all classified as hot rods.
Hot rods, a hot rod can be anything. Street rod kind of got that terminology from the National Street Rod Association. 48 and older was their thing.
Oh, so that's the National Street Rod definition.
NSRA, yeah.
The NSRA. I did not know that was their definition.
Right. I think of a hot rod as anything that's modified. To me, a street rod is 48 and older. A 61 Impala can be a hot rod, where a street rod is a 48 and older modified car.
All right, so I need to do a trivia here again, if you guys don't mind. I'm trying to vindicate myself. I got beat up on one of my episodes a while ago. All right. So is a 1965. No, let me start this the other way. A 1968 and a half 428 Cobra Jet Mustang Fastback lightweight. Is that a pony car or is that a muscle car?
My feeling is all Mustangs are pony cars.
I agree with John. All Mustangs are pony cars.
Well,
Hmm.
Ooh, that's a tough one.
But
I agree. All Mustangs are pony cars.
All right, I'm not being vindicated here. I called it a muscle car.
Ooh.
Say,
all right.
Jeffrey in the comments called
Sorry,
it
Greg.
a pony car too. I look at a pony car as the size of the vehicle.
Now, a pony car can be a muscle car.
No.
That's what I was.
No. I don't believe that. A muscle car,
a pony car, and a muscle car, and a sports car are three distinctively different things.
What's the difference between a muscle car and a pony car?
A muscle car is a two-door, full-size family car that has had a higher performance engine put in it. Think of it as the Pontiac Le Mans turned into the Pontiac GTO. They put a bigger engine with higher performance in it, but it's a family-sized car.
So what's a
pony
Camaro?
car? A pony car, because a pony car is a car built specifically with a smaller back seat for the two passengers in the rear, not a full back seat, but a smaller back seat, a la Mustang, Firebird, and Camaro. That's your pony car classification. A sports car has 2 seats and 2 seats alone. That's it.
So if you wrote a book about muscle cars, would you include a big block Mustang, Shelby, Corvette? If you're writing a book about 60s muscle cars, would you include a Corvette, Camaro, Yenko, Copo?
I wouldn't if it was me, because they're not.
All right, I'm going to go to the bookstore and pull out all the muscle car books to see if there is a pony car and a sports car in there. Because
there probably are.
I guarantee you there are.
You know how many? There are so many books I put down 4 pages in because I'm just like, that's junk.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. So
Derek and I did an episode 2 or 3 ago that basically we talked, and we alluded to it earlier in this episode, how terminologies, 4-door sports coupe. You can't have a 4-door coupe, and how these these terms of, a Miata is not a roadster. I don't care what you think. It's not a roadster. It has roll-up windows and door handles. These terms get manufactured and redefined by the marketers, and there's nothing the diehard car people can do about it. And that's what's happened. People think Mustangs are muscle cars, but to me, a pony car is a little bit smaller than the high horsepower performance cars. Those are full horses, and the Mustangs and Camaros of the world are a little bit smaller. The one I'm going to have trouble with is what's a Challenger, because it's always been the biggest of all of them. So is it just an oversized pony, or is it a muscle car?
It's all about the back seat, right, Derek? If the back seat has been made smaller for the rear passenger, technically it's a pony car, right?
Oh, I thought you meant it was all about the back seat for other reasons.
Are we back to talking about the Woodies again?
Well, I was going to say, Derek, if you go back to episode 30 of No Driving Gloves, we did define hot rods, because Will used to kill me because I always said he built, street rods.
I couldn't even remember Alan Shepard's name. You think I remember episode 30 of No Driving Gloves?
I remember that one.
And I still get it wrong.
Will and his street rod shop. What do you know?
We do need to be wrapping this one up, guys.
Oh, man.
We're an hour and 15. Now, it's up to Greg. He can have us all on his show, and we can continue this conversation, and his listeners are going to go, who the heck are these guys?
I would love
worst episode of Collector Car Podcast there will ever be. No driving gloves on.
Probably be the longest. Especially if I asked you for 10 cars.
Well, we easily some days could do a Joe Rogan type show, 3 hours and accomplish absolutely nothing.
Yep.
We do that in the first 5 minutes.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, we've enjoyed
this has
having
been awesome.
You. Yeah. And we definitely will consider some of the things we talked about on having you on some future episodes. And, let's see here. Let me push some buttons in on my screen because I made a whole bunch of banners for this. So let's see here.
So now we got to go
see his, Greg's podcast at thecollectorcarpodcast.com. His semi-day job at rmsotheby's.com.
Nice.
So you can talk to him about, I'm assuming, we didn't touch too much on your RM stuff, auction listings, helping manage your collection, curating collection, etc.
All that good stuff. And one thing I will say is sometimes the auction houses get beat up a little bit for whatever reasons, and I like to think, like, I run across all these folks that have, they're in their late 70s and they have 20, 50, 100 cars and they have no plan for when they pass away. And if I had that kind of wealth and car collection and I passed away, what I would want is for my widow wife to have 5 auction companies banging down my door to get the best opportunity for her to maximize value for that collection. And I hear comments like, preying on widows and stuff like that. I'm like, man, that's what I would want. I'd want all the auction houses giving their best pitch to sell their cars at the highest price possible in the peak of the market. So, I like to see it as helping people find their dream cars and helping them maybe upgrade their collection, which is a lot of fun.
That's some of the biggest, I guess, parts I do. I still do a little bit of automotive consulting. I don't advertise it in that, but people wanting to plan their collections or create a museum, or what can they do to manage what's going to happen to it when I'm gone. And unfortunately, people don't think, they never want to realize that day is going to come, as unfortunate as it is. But no matter what, I don't care if you've got 2 cars or you have 50 cars. It's a lot of money, and you have to really decide and do some estate planning due to the tax implications. Even if you're going to leave it to family, you've got to figure out how to handle it. So that's some of the stuff I do, but I like to pawn it off on people like Greg that have, the major companies behind him, and a more of a day-to-day hand in this. So
yeah, and one last comment is, tomorrow my podcast is talking about that exact thing, about the Hera collection. So I did a follow-up interview with Ken Gross. He just had 3 articles for Haggerty. And so I did a follow-up interview with Ken to kind of go more in depth on that, because that was 1,400 cars they didn't have any plans for. And, the biggest collection in the history of the world with no plans. And so we kind of dig in that in our podcast that goes live tomorrow. So
I when I was doing appraisal work, the company I worked with, they handled the LeMay collection, which was 3,200 cars.
Oh my God.
And there was no rhyme or reason on what Harold did. Even where a lot of the cars were, you went and knocked on his friends' houses and say, "Hey, do you have this T-Bird Harold owns?" "Oh yeah, he lent it to me 10 years ago for a parade, and I just haven't had time to return it."
Wow.
But there was, even he didn't have too much of a plan. His titles were in garbage bags in his office closet, and you just grabbed a handful of titles and let's go find the cars. And it was a really interesting project in that. So, no matter who you are, the biggest guys in the world don't do the planning, and the littlest guys in the world don't do the planning, but everybody needs to. That might be a bad way to leave, but go ahead. You can go ahead and visit, and No Driving Gloves at nodrivinggloves.com. If you enjoyed the show or something, go and buy us a coffee at nodrivinggloves.com/coffee. Take $3 or whatever if you felt our time was worth any sort of reward. And of course, you can follow us on Facebook and learn more about when these episodes are going to happen. It looks like we might end up being a Wednesday show. I haven't really talked too much about it, but we keep doing all these shows on Wednesdays, and we've got more planned on Wednesdays. So we want to thank, Greg for joining us tonight, and go visit his podcast and his webpage to figure out how to win a Porsche design watch, and possibly a Porsche design Martini watch. Next week, if schedules hold through, we're going to have somebody on who's going to tell you how to win $5,000. So we're not giving you the prizes. We're bringing guests on that can provide you the prizes.
Right. But can I buy you a latte?
Yeah, you can try to buy it a latte.
Okay.
So with all of that, I think we're going to go ahead and duck out of here. Tell everybody good night. And I've got to pick a video here that you're going to watch. We'll go back to this one that we did earlier.
We're going to stall for John.
Thank you for listening, and remember to look us up at nodrivinggloves.com. There you can find back episodes, links to products we recommend, and links to all our social media. Be sure